The land is alive. It has being. It experiences. It is perfectly aware of who we are, together, and as singular, intimate individuals. Everything that occurs within and without is witnessed and understood. It sees us. It dreams with us. Our acquiescence, our lamentation, all heard and felt. The wisdom of the land is arcane. The numberless forms within its bosom share in a profound sentience. In rock, wood, dirt, leaf, in paw and tooth and fin and wing, everything resonates. This is the body of the Mysterion. Elemental fire, water, air, earth, the magical ether, a sequence of life to contemplate slowly. And I am pleased to say the buzzing is bees in the wild flowers, and they remind me to recognize that we are part of the Mysterion, and it is part of us. For the mystical human, the soul, willingly devoted to encountering the sacred unfoldment of life, for such a person, one of the remarkable powers of the land is its capacity to remember. The land knows what happened today, and yesterday, and last week, last year, 100 years ago, 10,000 years ago. Indeed, it holds an unbroken chain of remembrance from the beginning, a vast, prodigious, flowing chronicle. Finely articulated, authentically witnessed, a feeling, emotion, a seeing, a purpose. And it is not the informational layer of things that is held, not the journal of a second-hand account, for that would be purely representational. No, it is the very thought of creation itself, what every day felt like, the momentous and countless earth changes, sweat, salt, muscle, granite, the ferocious elemental wrenching of the mountains and oceans, the tender upwelling of spiritual illumination. Everything. The land has memory. It shows us that in comprehending the extremes, both experientially and philosophically, only through living those extremes can we know the center. To map the farthest shore of lightness, to map the farthest shore of darkness. These are what enable us to identify the center of ourselves, to locate and sustain equilibrium, inhabiting the central point of graceful power. The land has foresight too. It knows what is coming. It is always showing us what will be. The environment is filled with this prophetic poetry and sacred image, an idiom so gorgeous in execution that many lose themselves in the enchantment of its surfaces, completely missing the inner meaning, though this is a very delicate crime. Nature is divinity made visible. The creator as sculptor, painter, musician. God in his joy and unfathomable ingenuity. for certain an enigmatic hand, as much as a heavenly one. We are formed from the substance of this celestial thought, born from the mother who has been given life by the Father. We arise from this clay, though it is not our origin. The human alone is given mortal flesh and immortal soul. A soul that may be harnessed and loved and refined to transmigrate oneself over infinite epochs of ages. A soul that will withdraw if the human self chooses to disavow the impulse for spiritual discovery. The natural world is a guide in all matters of spiritual life. It never stops in its munificent expression of heavenly law and metaphysical tutelage. And many people see themselves, don't they, as quite separate from nature, quite apart from it. They feel less entitled to consider themselves much a part of the natural world as, say, a robin, or a mouse, or a fox, or a tree, or a lake. They are natural, dissimilar to the human. The deer in the woodland seems to have more permission to be here than they. They feel divided from the green grass beneath their very feet, unlike the tree or the caterpillar that dwell with it. Most people see nature as some sort of background, like a movie set, scenery for photographs and postcards. I would say that most people cannot even see it at all. Many who have held close to the cities and suburbs and the prevailing cultures within those places have chosen to disengage from nature. Even those who swim and kayak and play golf and cycle and hike, most do not see where they are. Through their own determination, they blind themselves to the truth of what radiates all around them. They partake in a mental projection, not a sacred body. Nature constantly invites us to partake in its union, to transpose hardy independence and entwined celestial matrimony, to surrender utterly to its swirling waters, to lose ourselves in the beguilement of its dark veils, to listen to its elemental music, to visit its equilibrium, to attune ourselves to its signal of elevation and excellence. To do this, we must acknowledge the truth. We must grasp our origin and that from which we are made. We are natural. We are organic. We channel the land through our soul. We may have distanced ourselves from nature, become uncomfortable with its seasonal cycles and impersonal forces, like a house cat or a pet dog, who can play in its sunshine for the afternoon, go for a walk and soak up the sights and sounds of nature. But when the hour comes for shelter, for food, water, sleep and companionship, then the haven of the house is sought, warm and dry, clean and secure. Nature cannot be owned like property. It is not real estate. It is the living thought of the Creator. It engenders spirit and love. It knows and feels and imagines just as we do. If there is no nature in our life, no wild, untouched spaces, then we can have no connection. Nature is the faithful and abiding guide to all who seek true spiritual wisdom, to free themselves from misconception. The exquisite wilderness compels us to attend with presence, to bring ourselves into harmony with the place we are in, not to analyze and commentate, not to indulge in escapism and fantasy, but to be, to open, to change the triangles and squares into a circle, to become a curve in the artistry, to walk in silence is to allow the power of nature to arise within oneself. Silence, not just in words, but within one's own ruminations. To turn the volume down as much as possible from our perpetual chatter of 7 or 8 or 9 down to 5, to 2, to 1, to 0. No thought, only a slow river of perception. When we do this, we permit a greater wisdom to channel into us, the force that shapes the world-making word. This is the nous of the hermetic aspirant, the bridge between the all and its 10,000 things, its objects and forms, its routines and rituals, its colours, its causes and effects, its motions, its ever-shifting tapestry. Nous is demonstrated everywhere in nature, if one knows how to look. Today I am sat on the side of a mountain overlooking the forested hills and valleys in an undisclosed location in Washington State. It is a secret place because of the unique energetic properties of this land, well known to earlier native peoples for millennia. And there are actually 7 or 8 special places within this 1,000,000 acres of trees and mountains and lakes and meadows and creeks, and gorges and this long prehistoric coastline. It is an oceanic climate with both temperate rainforest and alpine areas, lots of wild spaces, wild animals, big and small, a genuinely exceptional environment. Ancient, holy ground that helps one place oneself in the order of things. Exalted and reverent all at once. In spirit, in blood, just as it ought to be. And I am fast developing a love for this land, which only deepens with each return. I am becoming hopelessly and impossibly infatuated with this sublime goddess. I hope we grow old together, attachment and non-attachment dancing in each other's arms. And one day, in some other world, I shall think of this voluptuous province with keen affection. We will be far from each other for a while. Different realms, different frequencies. But today, I am pleased to rest in the flawless elegance and primal power that lies all around me. Every sense filled only with what is natural, seamless, carefree, pure. I am grateful to be here. When the weather is sunny and clear, when the sky is blue and the sun beams its rays upon us, we feel a particular way about the world, about what is around us. Our emotions shape themselves to these climatic conditions. The warmth, the dryness underfoot, the brightness and clarity of the colours, we experience their tone and meaning. We absorb their teaching. And when the weather is rainy and cloudy, when the sky is grey and bruised, and the sun is hidden, and the temperature drops, we feel a different way. In the forest, in just a few more months, I will move in the cool moisture, in the mist, the sounds muted, the colours subdued, a quite different quality and ambience to the environment. This too contains a profound teaching, different to the summer. The elemental conditions of spring, summer, autumn, winter, each bring very precise emotional and contemplative gifts. And within the 7-year cycles, there are 3 sets of 7 years for our spring, summer, autumn and winter. 0 to 21, 21 to 42, 42 to 63, 63 to 84, and after that pure play. But those seasons show us something critically important in our ordained time. In the sun, rainfall, snow, mist, ice, breeze, hurricane. In drenching and desiccation. In the greens and browns and blues and greys, we come to know that the weather is fundamental to the natural equation. The mist and the mountain are one thing. So whilst it is natural for the human to often favour one sort of weather over another, the mystical impulse draws us to a truer reflection. All weather is perfect in its moment. Let's make that plane disappear, shall we? There we are. That's better. So after a time, one ceases to prefer anything. Every day, the weather is carefully calibrated to bring the most profound and relevant teachings imaginable. Think of it, what is the weather if not simply a higher energetic expression of the elements themselves? Air, water and fire moving upon the earth, liberating and transforming in motion. Like Asayahal, the great elemental air spirit of the northern Oregon coast, spoken of in a previous Roamcast. There is a rhythm in this land, a pulse that radiates and withdraws, outward and inward. An energetic tide that rises and falls, a seasonal heartbeat that harmonizes all the beings who move in goodness within it. The land is a teacher of high repute. If we open our eyes in a new way, empty the mind so it can delicately hold new forms, merging our essence with nous, then we may consider ourselves virtuous in our aspirations.